Welcome to Radical Feminist Perspectives. Today we're going to hear about The Common Woman poems by Judy Grahn and If Women Had a Common Language by Asphodel, discussed by Kate Graham. And this is a women-only webinar. This series of webinars is run by radical feminists whose voices have been cancelled or silenced in universities, schools, and the media. Frustrated that we cannot share what we know in these places, we are offering this online series of webinars here. Enjoy. So thanks so much, Kate, and over to you.
Thanks very much, Joe. Thanks for everything you do. You do a massive amount of work for us all here, and I really appreciate your consistency and your dedication. It makes a huge difference. I don't take you for granted in any way whatsoever. Thank you very much. Okay, we just had a little chat there over the last few minutes getting ready for this. And, you know, I'm in my 60s now, and I came out as a lesbian when I was 14, actually, in this sort of in the midst of the Gay Liberation Front in Edinburgh. And I was so lucky. I was so blessed that I had a lot of big sisters who were in the process of coming out into what became lesbian feminism, what became radical lesbian feminism. And these women helped me hugely. And some of these women were indeed Marianne Lutigliano, who's on this panel with us, and other women that we've heard from in the WDI talks and that we've heard from in these radical feminist talks as well. I really appreciated all their efforts, and I was blown away by them. They were magnificent, you know. They're pretty magnificent now, and in their heyday, let me tell you, they were pretty amazing. So I was really lucky to have that. And we were all trailblazers, really. Red Stockings in New York and other lesbians in the States. We saw a film of a lesbian addressing a crowd in the States yesterday with the WDI meeting, and they were astonishing. And they were inventing what was completely new and revolutionary at that time. Not only our sexuality, but our language, our understanding, our awareness of who we were. And I think it's important to realize that before that we had nothing. We had nothing. We had images of lesbians that were really deeply misogynist, you know, horrible, enough to turn anybody off. I mean, it was a good few months, if not years, before I could use the L word comfortably. You know, we used the gay. We used to say we were gay women, us youngsters, some of us, and so we had to overcome that. And part of that, obviously, it was the mix of radical feminism and lesbianism. That the Gay Liberation Front didn't want us because we were too feminist. The men didn't see feminism as having any relevance to gay liberation struggle at all. And at that time, the women's liberation movement were in a deep quandary about how they would be affected by the smear of lesbianism, the accusation of lesbianism. And so, you know, we were adrift, bereft, you know, kind of pretty much excluded from both camps. And I'm amazed that these women did not let that stop them. You know, we had groups throwing up everywhere, not throwing up, but, you know, appearing everywhere, of radical lesbian feminists discussing who we were, what was important to us, and how we were going to move forward. And part of that was about identifying that some of us had been heterosexual because of forced heterosexuality. And we understand that now, most of us, I think. Hopefully you do too. Compulsory heterosexuality hadn't been written yet, you know. Adrienne Rich wrote that, I believe, and lots of other lesbians related to that. Lesbian mothers relate to that, obviously. Yeah, so, you know, there was that. And there was also the diversity of the genuine diversity of lesbians, you know, the fact that we were across the world, that we were, you know, in every age group, every demographic, I believe is the word they use. And that none of us are free until we're all free. You know, when I say that, mindful of the fact that in Uganda, women are being forcibly raped and then legally, judiciously murdered for being lesbians in this day and age, in the 21st century. So, you know, it's like, who are we? Who are we, and who were we then? There are no films about us. There was the killing of Sister George, which is dreadfully depressing, apart from that wonderful bit where the nuns in the taxi and everything. That's funny. But, you know, we were portrayed as being really perverse and perverted and dark and evil, and sick and unnatural. And so we were portrayed like that. And so these poems come in a context that was the context of us emerging out of that. And I hope I haven't gone on too long. I just wanted to give women a chance to join, because I know some of us arrive at these things a bit sleepy-eyed, a bit bleary-eyed on a Sunday morning, as it is here in the UK anyway. And I don't want you to miss out on the start of the poem. So now here's this woman, Judy Grahn, and she wrote these poems that she called the Common Woman poems, and they were reproduced in some of them in a book that was printed in London by Lillian Moen and friends of Lillian Moen at Only Women Press, called One Foot on the Mountain. There are lots of wonderful poems in that, but I think I first met them in these poems in the Lesbian Anthology by Persephone Press, which was American. And I was easily 21, 22 by the time I met these poems. And yeah, the Common Woman poems. What is it to be a woman? What is it to be a woman who's not reflected or represented anywhere in art or culture? Okay, I'll do my best to do them justice. There are 7 of them. This is the first one. 1. Helen at 9 a.m, at noon, at 5:15. Her ambition is to be more shiny and metallic, black and purple as a thief at midday. Trying to make it in a male form, she's become as stiff as possible. Wearing trim suits and spike heels, she says bust instead of breast. Somewhere underneath, she misses love and trust. But she feels that spite and malice are the prices of success. She doesn't realize yet that she's missed success also. So her smile is still sometimes genuine. After a while, she'll be a real killer, bitter and more wily, better at pitting the men against each other and getting the other women fired. She constantly conspires. Her grief expresses itself in fits of fury over details. Details take the place of meaning. Money takes the place of life. She believes that people are lice who eat her, so she bites first. Her thirst increases year by year, and by the time the sheen has disappeared from her black hair, her intention makes her features unmistakably ugly. She'll go mad. No one in particular will care. As anyone who's had her for a boss will know, the common woman is as common as the common crow. Number 2, Ella in a square apron along Highway 80. She's a copper-headed waitress, tired and sharp-worded. She hides her bad brown tooth behind a wicked smile and flicks her ass out of habit to fend off the pass that passes for affection. She keeps her mind the way men keep a knife, keen, to strip the game down to her size. She has a thin spine, swallows her eggs cold, and tells lies. She slaps a wet rag at the truck drivers if they should complain. She understands the necessity for paying, turns away the smaller tips out of pride, and keeps a flask under the counter. Once, she shot a lover who misused her child. Before she got out of jail, the courts had pounced and given the child away. Like some isolated lake, her flat blue eyes take care of their own stark bottoms. Her hands are nervous, curled, ready to scrape. The common woman is as common as a rattlesnake. Number 3, Nadine, resting on her neighbor's stoop. She holds things together, collects bail, makes the landlord patch the largest holes. At the Sunday social, she would spike every drink and offer you half of what she knows, which is plenty. She pokes at the ruins of the city like an armored tank, but she thinks of herself as a ripsaw cutting through knots in wood. Her sentences come out like thick pine shanks, and her big hands fill up the air like smoke. She's a mud-chinked cabin in the slums, sitting on the doorstep, counting rats and raising 15 children, half of them her own. The neighborhood would burn itself out without her. One of these days, she'll spark the strike herself. Strike the spark herself. Sorry. She's made of grease and metal with a hard head that makes the men around her seem frail. The common woman is as common as a nail. Number 4, Caro, in the park, chewing on straws. She has taken a woman lover. Whatever shall we do? She has taken a woman lover. How lucky it wasn't you. And all the day through she smiles and lies and grits her teeth and pretends to be shy or weak or busy. Then she goes home and pounds her own nails, makes her own bets, fixes her own car with her friend. She goes as far as women can go without protection from men. On weekends, she dreams of becoming a tree that dreams it is ground up and sent to the paper factory, where it lies helpless in sheets until it dreams of becoming a paper airplane and rises on its own current, where it turns into a bird, a great coasting bird that dreams of becoming more free even than that. A feather, finally, or a piece of air with lightning in it. She has taken a woman lover. Whatever can we say? She walks around all day quietly, but underneath it, she's electric. Angry energy inside a passive form. The common woman is as common as a thunderstorm. Number 5, Detroit Annie, hitchhiking. Her words pour out as if her throat were a broken artery and her mind were cut glass, carelessly handled. You imagine her in a huge velvet hat with a great dangling black feather, but she shaves her head instead and goes for 3-day midnight walks. Sometimes she goes down to the dock and dances off the end of it, simply to prove her belief that people who cannot walk on water are phonies or dead. When she's cruel, she's very, very cool. And when she's kind, she's lavish. Fishermen think perhaps she's a fish, but they're all fools. She figured out that the only way to keep from being frozen was to stay in motion, and long ago converted most of her flesh into liquid. Now, when she smells danger, she spills herself all over like gasoline and lights it. She leaves the taste of salt and iron under your tongue, but you don't mind. The common woman is as common as wine. Number 6, Margaret, seen through a picture window. After she finished her first abortion, she stood for hours and watched it spinning in the toilet like a pale stool. Some distortion of the rubber doctor with their simple tubes and complicated prices still makes her feel guilty, white and yeasty. All her broken bubbles push her down into a shifting tide, where her own face floats above her like the whole globe. She lets her life go off and on in a slow strobe. At her last job, she was fired for making strikes and talking out of turn. Now she stays home, a little blue around the edges, counting calories and staring at the empty magazine pages. She hates her shape and calls herself overweight. Her husband calls her a big baboon. Lusting for changes, she laughs through her teeth and wanders from room to room. The common woman is as solemn as a monkey or a new moon. Number 7. I'm going to pause for a moment. Okay, number 7. Vera from my childhood. solemnly swearing, to swear as an oath to you, who have somehow gotten to be a pale old woman. Swearing as if an oath could be wrapped around your shoulders like a new coat. For your $28 a week and the bastard boss you never let yourself hate. And all the work you did at home where you never got paid. For your mouth that got thinner and thinner until it disappeared as if you had choked on it. Watching the hard liquor break your fine husband down into a dead joke. For the strange mole like a third eye right in the middle of your forehead. For your religion, which insisted that people are beautiful golden birds and must be preserved. For your persistent nerve and plain white talk. The common woman is as common as good bread. As common as when you couldn't go on, but did. For all the world, we didn't know we held in common all along. The common woman is as common as the best of bread and will rise and will become strong. I swear it to you. I swear it to you on my own head. I swear it to you on my common woman's head. That's it. Now, a lot of women were able to write poetry and draw and paint and do pottery and things back in the days. Poetry is the most accessible form of publishing, certainly then. There was no way that we could get feminist or radical feminist or lesbian feminist stuff published by the mainstream. I just had an attitude of suspicion way back of anything that was published, really, because it was so difficult. Now, in America, I guess because of access to funds and so on, Persephone Press were able to publish quite a few lesbian things, and Only Women Press did brilliantly as well. So, but lots of women just used photocopying machines and printed things out in a way that we saw Brandon read out in the Standing for Women event, didn't we, the other day, and that's been picked up across the world now. It's fabulous, isn't it? And so poetry has that possibility. It has that way of saying in a very creative way things that we're just reaching toward, we need analysis, obviously. We need analysis. We need campaigns. We need legal transformations and protections. We need everything. We need music. We need, but we definitely, in my opinion, from my point of view, we need poetry. Okay, so the next poem, that was Judy Grahn, yeah. And it was called The Common Woman Poems. There's 1 to 7. Sometimes you find some of them reproduced, but that's all of them. Difficult. So the next poem that I wanted to read, simply because I've got an hour to fill here, and I know more is not always better, but I'm going to share this with you. And it's a poem by a woman who, and it was published in that 1 Foot on the Mountain collection that Only Women Press did. Thank you to everyone that was involved with that. And the woman who wrote it called herself Pauline Long at the time. She started writing poetry. She was involved in the matriarchy study group. I had the privilege of meeting her several times, and she was an absolutely wonderful woman. And the poem that I've got here is simply a photographs that this lovely woman sent me, Frances Gillard. Thank you so much, darling, for sending me copies of this, because I'm in my boat in London, and my poetry book is in Scotland, 400 miles away. So here we go. Now, this is a kind of follow on from a poem called this by, I think it was Adrian Rich. If women could speak, what language would they use? And so she's called it If Women Could Speak, What Language Would They Use, Part 2. But I think it's the best name for it myself, but I think it's as an homage to Adrienne Rich that she's called it that. It's a winter poem. It's really a winter solstice poem, and here we are on the very verge of summer solstice. But hey, needs must. So I will now shut up and invite you to follow me and follow the one and only Asphodel, showing us the way. If you go walking in a wood in winter and speak to the stones half buried in the snow, watch twirling leaves and dry sticks floating, tread into muddy bracken, see still branches, thin skeletons of bodies yet to flourish. If you go walking in a wood in winter, hear me, sisters, hear me speak again. If you go walking in your silence, stretching your skin to the cold air, stomaching your silence, your acquiescence, your solicitude, bearing your guilt, the guilt of too little patience, your guilt of the wish to speak, of the wish for a tear of loving, a tear of communion you know can never happen. If you go walking, sister, in a wood, in winter, stumbling into mud, knee high, vision of birds scuttling, then flying, winging on to a low horizon. As I shall speak, my words are meant for you, sister, weeping in the long grass, for you, sister, lying on a hard bed, for you, sister, whispering, hoping, playing, praying, whimpering, imploring, shrilly crying, burning with a hard guilt, silent and screaming out your silence. Who are you, dear sister? Image, dressed and undressed, to play, to pay, to be made nothing of, to be made into nothing, to become no one, to keep silence. Find a half-buried stone and rest there. Stand in the stone's huge shadow and rest there. Hide in the stone's curved form and rest there. Hear the stones speak for me and rest there. I was everything who went down into nothing. They wrenched my earth and my moon, drowned me into nothing. To be forgotten, to be annihilated from time, to be no one, nowhere, no person, no voice. I do not exist except in the hard pain in your body, the clench at the heart, head throbbing, high pitch of tears, the bruise, the cut, the stumble, the bowed head, the silence. Who are those women standing there and laughing? Those women standing there dancing? Those women singing, talking, speaking, shouting, speaking in some language that some understand, speaking with eyes and tongue and head and body, speaking. Who are those women speaking out in some language, singing with music of flute and strings, singing with, well, music of flute and strings, walking in spirals through the stone circles, shouting in my mazes? Shall the moon see? Shall the moon rise? The serpents move in unison, the snails in circles, the goats sing again. Shall the stones bound in harmony to be heard, to be understood, to be contemplated, to be reciprocated? Shall the slit throat be healed? To let sound through and the breath come noisily. Women, defend me. I am the dark river bearing your flowers. Defend me. I am the night where the dead live, the luminous heart of the dark, where glistens a whirl of day. Defend me. Your voice is my white seed of creation that I dropped into the garden. Your voice is the cauldron that brews knowledge. Your voice is the satisfied sigh of a contented child, the volcano of ecstasy. Your voice that speaks in language that more understand, defends me, brings me up through the thick earth to smile on my daughters who are me. Blessed be. Pretty amazing, right? Okay, I thought to myself, I might finish early, and I've got an hour here. There's a lot of things I could talk about, really. I think, I mean, how do you follow that? We've all had, well, no, maybe we haven't, but many of us have had the experience of women-only space, the bliss of women-only festivals, camping, singing, dancing. I think, you know, realizing the extent to which we've been disappeared is a huge part of consciousness raising. We had that thing about films, didn't we? What's her name? The woman who's now got a test of films. God, I can't remember her name. You know, who you know, talks about women in films. Is it a film where the women have a conversation which is not about men? Some of you will know that woman's name. She was a cartoonist. Yeah, but that's just scratching the surface. I mean, I defy you to think of a woman where a relationship between a woman and her mother, or a woman and her, yeah, Bechdel, thank you, Dr. Vole, Alison Bechdel, the Bechdel test. So, you know, let's try and see if we can think of a film or a book where a woman and her relationship with her daughter is explored, or a woman and her relationship with her mother, where, you know, obviously there are films where mothers are demonized and discredited, and lots of films where mothers have disappeared. You've got lots of films where mothers are dead, you know, gone. Just such crap. I'm on the series. I don't know about that, Deb. Thanks. But yeah. And then the representation of lesbians. I mean, come on. But yeah, the representation of women. We have to do it. We have to be the voice. We have to, and every time we do that. The great creation, the great goddess, the reality, the truth, the possibilities are recreated. So with that in mind, I'm going to speak to you of Irina Klepovitz. That's back to front, isn't it? Keeper of accounts. I was so deeply privileged to witness Sheila Showman give a reading of the epic poem in here, Bashar, which I cannot do, otherwise I would, without a doubt, because it's reserved for ritual presentations and by Jewish women. But it's absolutely wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So, however, I will read one of her other poems, and I want you to take it as a challenge from Irina, who I've never met, and me in her huge shadow. If you've thought about writing poetry, if you've ever tried it, if you've managed to put a few things together, yeah, this is for you. It's called A Poem for Judy, Beginning a New Job. Yeah. I will keep this simple, not give it universal significance, nor transform it into art. You say, quote, I will not do this forever. I will paint. I've learned now that it's no solace to point out the others, so many others, straining, wasting, unable to do what they know they must do. For such loss is always solitary and unshared, outside the scope of bloodless theory. You do not paint, and what must happen does not happen. The transformation on the empty of the elusive marble or of the simple water into impenetrable rock. And nothing, not even a loving embrace, nor special intimate midnight talk will ever make up or diminish that loss for you or for her, or her, or her, or her. Well, that's it. Oh my goodness, I have 20 minutes left. What shall we do? Joe, would you like to invite anybody in to talk about poetry? Or do you want me to find another one? I'm sorry I've mistimed that somewhat.
I think if there's anybody in the chat who would be willing to be come on as a panelist, then declare that now. So if there's anybody who's okay for that, otherwise let's maybe just read another poem, which everybody's really, really enjoying, I think.
Oh, good, good.
So perhaps, yeah, I mean, I think just more poems is going to be great for most people. Yeah.
More poems is good. Let me go and find a poetry book and have someone different.
Okay, so Nonika has said that she will do a poem. So Nonika, I'm gonna make you, Kate, Nonika, who's here,
Oh, yeah, I hear you.
has said that she'll come on, and I just need to get it so that I can make her into a panelist.
Right.
There we are. Right, I'm about to do that. So Nonika, you're going to be a panelist. You'll be made. That's going to happen pretty much very soon. Oh, I don't know why that's not working. Yes, yes. So you're going to be coming on now. So if you turn on your video, Nonika, and then you can. So Kate, Nonika says she's a poet and will be able to do a poem for us. Right. So if you,
I'm going to mute my audio while she does that. Okay.
Well, I don't know if you don't think you should quite do it yet because she's not arrived properly yet. Nonika, can you put your video on?
I have.
Okay, we can't see it.
I don't know what to do.
Okay, just do the poem then. I think it looks.
Tell you what, let Kate read this because I'm a bit surprised that you responded so quickly. So you read what you're reading, and then I'll read something after.
Okay, cool. Great.
Cool. Okay, brilliant. Well, I'll do one from Carolyn Griffin, who's fabulous and may well be here. I don't know. Are you here, Caroline? God, there's lots. You know, very lesbian poems. Sorry. Difficult to know which one to choose, but I'll choose the first one in her collection of 3, which are in another lesbian poets book called Not for the Academy. Lillian was quite insistent that women's studies was not necessarily the best way forward for lesbian feminists, and so she's called it Not for the Academy. Isn't that cool? I may have said something quite controversial there. Okay, well, okay, I'll do my best. Here we go. This one's called, what's it called? I don't know. It starts off with "Speak what we feel, not what we ought to say," which is a quote from King Lear by Shakespeare. I haven't read this, so I haven't read it recently. Here we go. Could just our hands be lovers? It would be blameless, easy. I see yours, deft and muscular, sewing, writing, playing the piano. Sometimes you touch my fingers lightly. The significance I don't pin down. Sunday, Greenwich, grey and cold. It's an escape. As we talk, wind blasts the rigging of a tea clipper, which roared all the way to China. There's rain on your glasses. Earlier, I'd touched the muddy river, hoping for salt, hoping to be splashed, hoping to follow that river's rush right down to the sea. I needed drenching, I see now. as dear or hardly formed had yet begun and needed washing off, needed joining to some formless deep in which I feel but no breath has committed me. Inchoate words committed only to the sea. It seemed a word once spoken could not be denied. I stood on the steps near Greenwich Pier, exuberant, wanting only the slap of a wave, not realizing why that discipline is kind. It knocks the words away before they crack my head. My dearest love. We walk on, drink some wine. In a Sunday restaurant, the people come and go, lapping against this island where we meet, until one moment, our hands are wings, beating and recoiling. You are trying to give me something. Your ring, I say. I'll look after this for you. And the fluttering settles. Small waves slide over the pebbles. The disturbance ebbs. If just our hands were lovers, it would be reaching through prison bars, asserting that all that's mortal can be loved, or branches leaning without blame or fracture. Even wings beat the air with no remorse. But we don't live like that. Riverbanks pour with smoke. Those burning boats, the ghats of Benares. Still, I hold my hands out to the fire and see they're scarred. I hope for something, though the world spins when I realize it. Give me gentleness, not just of memory to be held as I go on with it, not just this river, this afternoon, these nights. Yeah, okay, that's that. Longing, lesbian longing. I know, thanks, Janie, isn't it? I mean, analysis just don't do it, you know? Okay, well, Joe, I feel I've really let you down with the timings here. I do apologize, my darling.
It's fine because Nonika's here and she's going to do a poem now. You don't. It's just doing it at all is absolutely brilliant.
Yes,
Oh,
it's brilliant. Thank you so much. It's really,
Right.
really. I can't. My video is on.
Yeah, we can't see you, but let's go for it anyway.
Okay, this is a homage to Maya Angelou, Still I Rise. But I always felt that she was always incredibly positive. And while there is a place for positivity, there's also a place for spitting rage. And this is what this is about. And it's called Still I Rage. You may write me out of the story for the whole entire age. You may deny my lived reality, but still, like fire, I rage. Does my messiness distress you? Why do you leave the room when I talk like all my womanhood is located in my womb? Just like moons and like stars, I will rewrite the page. Just like a hot volcano, still I'll rage. Yes, you tried to have me broken. Yes, I wept and howled and cried. Shoulders weighted down by the loss of my truth in your foul lies. Does my honesty offend you? Don't you wish it could be slayed because I scream like I've got freedom and I refuse to be unmade? You may shoot me with your words. You may put me in a cage. You may blank me with your ignorance, but still, like storms, I'll rage. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it not open your eyes when I birth the future's passion from the vulva between my thighs? Out of the huts of his story's shame, I rage. Up from a present that's rooted in pain, I rage. I'm a gushing ocean, slippery and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind days of terror and fear, I rage. Into a sunset that's wonderfully clear, I rage. living the gifts that my foremothers gave. I am the anger. I will not be unnamed. I rage, I rage, I rage. Oh, look, and now I can't hear you, Kate.
Yes.
Wow, that's because I muted myself. That's
Oh.
brilliant. You know,
I'm always happy to share a poem.
yeah, excellent.
I've got another short
Brilliant.
one if you like. It's a bit hardcore.
Go for it.
It's called No Massa. No Massa. These bitches ain't your niggers. They ain't your stock to get in line. These harridans, these witches won't be restrained, won't be refined. Be forewarned of angry women. It is their wrath that shifts the ages. Though we are painted out of history and shrunken in its pages, our awesome power needs no light. It looks for no applause. In sisterhood, we find our might, and in between our chores, we are the evolution. We are the fight that will be won, the authentic institution from which all else has clearly sprung. These bitches ain't your niggers. These witches won't take flight. These facey, mouthy mothers have made their ways through darkest night, and they're still standing, and they can take another fall. Staying the course may be demanding, you know they ain't gonna crawl. These bitches ain't your niggers. These bitches ain't your bitch. These bitches' nimble fingers cut the cloth and craft the stitch. Thank you.
Wow. I'm just, because I'm the timekeeper here, Nonika, we've got about 8 minutes left, and if you had another couple of poems you could read.
I've got an endless selection of poetry.
Can you do 8 minutes, please?
I'm going to do a long one because
Perfect.
I've just finished. I've got a book out called Mouthing Off, and another book out called that I'm just about to bring out called Banging On, and yeah, I'm trying to promote it really badly, but I'm rubbish at that sort of thing. But I'm trying to find something longish. Let's have a look.
Put it in the chat.
Okay, this is called Good Breeding Stock.
Oh,
It's one of my turf poems.
great.
When seeking out a sisterhood, one needs to watch one's back. Women are broken in from birth with well-worn and well-kept tack. Harnessed, they know to bow their heads. They will not resist the bit. Reined in, well-groomed and shod in shame. They will parade in halters that display their vain complicity, jump through their trials prettily, eat grateful from their master's hands, in fear of the wild and untamed herd, that they shy from formulating plans that are writ in their own words. Such tame, complicit creatures take their pride from showing features which demonstrate acceptance of the man and all his might, his monies and his medicines. She will stand and fight for her place in his stall. She will happily rename it all as her own and as her liberty. She will do as she is told, give herself over bodily for to have and for to hold a semblance of her humanity. Correctly, she is fearfully trotting out the stereotype chosen for her races, cantering in approval's light. She keeps to enclosed spaces where she'll be less harmed. It will be her raising the alarm to warn of the ungroomed fillies trampling on the manicured lawn. In truth, her only choice is found in fight, flight, freeze or fawn.
Christ, that's so good. Well done.
It's all very, very grim, I'm afraid.
That's not grim.
Yeah, I'm sort of like permanently enraged. Oh, this is one. This is the last one. I was recently in Lesbos at
Oh,
Gala Eresos,
excellent.
and the Sappho Women's Festival has been captured.
What?
Yeah, I pulled out of doing workshops there because they are trans allies, and there's a queer scene going on there, and one woman I know who's lived there for 20 years is moving back to London, to England, and the queering of the island, no, the queering of the women's community there is a heartbreak. It's absolutely heartbreaking. So I've pulled out of the Women's Festival, and I'm hoping to organize a women's holiday of real women to study Sappho and other ancient women writers in response to this. So I'll mention it when I'm here. But so this is called, there was a man and two women who were a trio calling themselves lesbians.
Jesus.
And he was bad mouthing me behind my back and all the rest of it. And I got cancelled and deplatformed. In Lesbos, which I decided was an achievement. You know, I'm up there with Jermaine Greer and J.K. Rowling. I'm not complaining. But so they were calling themselves the Rainbow Family. And I thought that's the most monochrome rainbow I've ever seen in my life. There's nothing more heteronormative than a man and two women. Anyway, so this is called Rainbow Warrior. And it was referencing the Native American tale that when the earth is broken and everything is mashed up, a tribe of people of all nations will come together and they will be known as the Rainbow Warriors, that the Greenpeace ship's named after. So it's a kind of reclaiming of the concept of rainbow out of queer world into let's save the earth. Rainbow Warrior. Rainbows are for everybody. Rainbows don't discuss how light falls upon our being, reflecting that which is us. Rainbows have no lines between the color. Rainbows go beyond what can be seen. Rainbows, when properly perceived, show the spectrum of our being as we were born to be. Rainbows show us everything in every kind of way. Rainbows are for everybody. Rainbows always show the same spectrum, which color cannot go beyond. Rainbows show us all the light. The rainbow can't be wrong. Thank you. I hope I filled that 8 minutes. Did I fill up 8 minutes?
You did. Well, we've got a couple of minutes left, I think.
Well, just thank you so much for being and existing. Honestly, touching base in these meetings.
And you, sister, absolutely.
It's a lifesaver, actually.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It really, really is. And I'm shocked to find myself in my later years going underground. It's really, really shocking. So hang in there, keep going, and I shall keep turning up.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
I'm just good because we've got 2 minutes and I'm quite into using the 2 minutes. Nonika, when have you been going to this Scarlet Arrestor? So I went in the 1980s, 90s. It was amazing. But have you been going for years and years and years?
I've been going since about 2015, and I've watched the slow capture of it.
Yeah,
which has been shocking. And so I was arranged, the irony is I was booked to do talks about poetry workshops and speak out workshops, which was acknowledging the fact that women silence themselves, and examining that through a workshop process, and then separately do poetry workshops. And the fact that I've pulled out because of the capture of it, I mean, the irony is ridiculous. I pulled out of a women's festival because I don't feel I can speak in a women's festival, and it's not a women's festival anyway.
So yeah, I went to Scarlet Arrestor, well, must be about 12 years ago, quite a while ago, and there was a lot of BDSM being promoted.
Yeah, I mean, I think people's personal sexual practices, fine, so long as it's adults consenting, they can do what they want. But you know, that's not for me to judge. If I'm not in it, what goes on behind closed doors is not my business. Yeah,
no, but it wasn't sort of, it was being kind of flaunted. And I think it's indicative of a kind of lesbianism that we certainly, I don't recognize from the poem that I read. You know, it's that performative sensationalist.
I think BDSM as a sexual practice is of the people involved in it. And I also do.
Yeah, I heard you say that. But what I'm saying is that I don't recognize it, you know, from the kind of tentative development of intimacy and passion that the early lesbian feminists were trying to explore. This kind of.
Most people have always done that sort of thing. And my kind of feeling is people get attached to it as a practice.
Yeah.
And I think its purpose is it has a processing function, and that when
sorry. Right, Nonika, I think I'm not stopping the discussion, but I'm just stopping because we've run out of time.
Yes, yes.
But thank you so much. And I know it's a discussion, and maybe we could talk about it sometime, but we definitely, I think everybody wants to hear more from your poetry and your ideas. So I'll email you or vice versa.
Yes, please do. I'd love to do more and be more involved in everything that you're doing.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. And thank you. Unbelievable. A couple of people. So Kate's stuff that that somebody said, Kate, if you read the dictionary, I'm going to come online and listen to it. just because it's just fantastic. You've got a fantastic voice and it's lovely. But thank you so much, Kate, and thank you everyone for being here. And see you. The breakout rooms are going to be happening if you want to carry on. Otherwise, see you next week. Okay. Bye.
Oh, thank you. Bye. Bye.
Thanks. Yeah. Bye-bye.